Thank you for turning to page 121. Welcome back to page 121. Today I'm going to be changing things up a bit. It's not going to be about AD&D. It's going to be about a game that's built off of AD&D, a game called Spellfire, Master the Magic. Not too much like Magic the Gathering. Spellfire came around in June of '94 as a reaction to the success of Magic the Gathering the year before. It was published by TSR and was published through October 1997. It went through 4 editions and many expansion packs. I'm going to go over a little bit of a overview of the game, how you play it, how you build a deck, and how you win. There may be 1 or 2 of our house variant rules in here. It's going to depend on how I cover the topics. So if not, I am going to do another video in the future that's going to be how we play the game and some of the variant rules we allow. So here we go. Spellfire, Master the Magic. When playing Spellfire, the goal is to establish 6 realms in your own formation, and that wins you the game. Each realm may be placed 1 per turn, and the game is broken down into phases. The draw phase, the phase where you can put realms or something called holdings down, the phase where you can put champions into your pool with magic items, and then the fight phase, and then phase 5 is the end phase. So each turn you would add one of each realm until you end up with a formation like this. 6 realms. The idea is that I'm going to put my realms down and get 6 realms in my formation. You, on the other hand, are going to attack my realms with an idea of raising my realms, thus keeping me from entering a winning state. So, to that end, we have a pool, and in the pool are the various characters. The character cards are, if in the upper left corner you see the little red monster face, that's a monster character. This one with the little pink spellbook is a magic user or a wizard card. The next one would be with the little helmet. With the little helmet, that is a hero card, or as we often call them while we play, a fighter. And then last, a druid, a cleric. In this case it is a druid, but it's a cleric icon, the purple shield. So, in the icon you see the number 4. He is a 4th level character. The idea of the game is very simple. I have a pool of characters, as you see there. My pool of characters attacks your formation. If I get through, I raise a realm. To raise a realm, you simply flip it upside down. I no longer would have 6 in my formation, therefore I would have to replace this realm. I can rebuild it by discarding 3 cards on my turn, or I can just place a new realm on top of it. So the idea is to get to a board state where you have 6 unraised realms. To do that, you have to have champions. The champions live in your pool. They're the champions. There are many cards in this game that enhance the champions. They are magic items, which get to be placed on the champions. You'll notice that everything I have on the table to this point has the Greyhawk logo on it, because I'm a Greyhawk kind of guy. Yet this says AD&D. Well, AD&D is its own state. I can have all AD&D realms, but in case of a magic item, I can attach it. I attach it thusly. So, if you're looking at these 2 cards together, I have a 4 for my Archdruid, his base level, and a +5 for his magic item. He now counts as level 9. If my opponent were to attack me with Otto, who is base level 6, Otto can cast both wizard and cleric spells. If Otto were to attack, he would come forward like that. I would move my champion out to defend. Otto is attacking my lead realm. If Otto is coming to attack and he is level 6 and I block with a level 9, if Otto has nothing else to play, I win. Otto gets discarded to his player's discard, and I come back to the pool, and then I get to draw a card from my deck. It's called Spoils of Victory. I'll explain that later. So, The idea is you have support cards that will help your formation or your players in the pool or in combat. Players in the pool are the players in the pool. As you see, the magic item is attached while he's in the pool. When he's in combat, I'll use Otto again. If Otto were to attack, he would go out for the attack. There would be the defender. If Otto was losing, whoever is losing plays the next card. If Otto is losing, he would then be able to cast a spell if he chose, in which case this is an enlarge spell, and it's a +3 spell, and if the opponent is a type of movement called a flyer, it gets an additional +3. But Otto in this case would be 9 versus a level 5 skeleton. There are many, many things you can do to add to enhance your characters. In addition to magic items in the pool, you can also attach artifacts. This would be an artifact, the Codex of Infinite Planes. It has the powers listed at the bottom. All these players' champions are immune to offensive magic items and spells. So I attach it to Turin Hetzman. He's level 2 and he's immune to offensive spells and offensive magic items and spells. There's another type of card that I can attach only to a realm called a holding. They're printed up, right side up like this with the icon. This adds whatever power it has at the bottom. In this case, Castle Heart, any champion and allies defending Castle Heart gain 2 levels. So Otto, if he went out by himself, would not count as 6. He would count as 8 because he gains 2 levels. I attach it thusly in my formation. The other thing I can have, that mentioned the word allies, this is an ally card, the little axe with the icon. The ally can add to my combat ability just like a spell can. In this case, it's a +5 ally. The trait and all cards in this player's force are immune to all offensive wizard spells except Fireball. So Otto jumps to a level 11 and he's immune to offensive wizard spells. So there are many permutations of what I've just done as attack and defense. I'm going to go into a little bit more of the overall rules. Oh wait, there is one other type of card, my apologies, one other type of card I need to introduce. This is the event card. You can have up to 10 of these in a deck with a little yellow flag. They can be played at any time and give the effect written. In this one, this player draws 5 cards immediately. If I'm about to be attacked and I don't have very good support in my hand, I can play a good fortune and draw 5 cards before the attack starts, thus maybe giving me some more reinforcement. Generally in Spellfire, anything like an ally, a spell, an event will all get discarded. As soon as I'm done playing with them, they would go to the discard pile. A magic item that's attached to the champion would only be removed if the champion was defeated in combat and thus discarded. The item would go with him, or if there was something in the opposing force that discarded magic items. There are many cards that do that. So this is the basic game as it was put out in 1994. And the basic game is actually a very nice design. It's a fun game. One unfortunate aspect to it is that you can actually win this game by sitting and doing nothing. You can win this game defensively. It's not a very interesting way to play, but it is something you can do. I'm going to talk now a little bit about how you build up your force, your realms, and how you build up your pool, and what happens if you lose all of your realms. Does that affect your pool? Now I'm going to show just a very quick example of a very simple combat and the basic rules of Spellfire. I have my realm sitting out here. I have 2 champions in my pool. They are Otto and the Skeletal Horde. Skeletal Horde has an interesting note. They are undead. Various powers affect undead differently or don't affect them at all. My opponent has decided he's going to go ahead and he's going to attack the Horn Society, which has a neat power. At the beginning of my turn, I can send a champion to limbo until the next player's turn. I can basically take it off the playing field until the beginning of my next turn. It's an interesting power, and this makes this card a target very often. So, Midnight is coming out. She's going to attack that card. In order for battle to be joined, she has to declare an attack, and I have to declare a defense. Now, Midnight has a rather devastating power. Her power is, Once Midnight is in play, wizards cannot cast spells without her permission. She also destroys any magic items held by the opposing champion. So, if I were to have Otto go out and fight her, I'd be putting Otto out at a 6 plus 5. That would be a total of 11, except Midnight destroys any magic items that oppose me. So before I get to do anything, this item is discarded. Now Otto's out there at a 7. She's got 7, I've got 6, but I cannot cast spells. So, what does that leave me to do? Well, it looks like I'm down to allies. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my ally, and I'm going to put Treants of the Grandwood out there, which makes me immune to offensive spells, and gives me 11 versus Midnight's 7. Midnight can cast spells, so she says, well, yeah, I'm going to. So she casts Enlarge. Except, Enlarge, I'm immune to it, because it is actually a spell that affects me, so that makes it an offensive spell. Therefore, I'm immune to it. So Midnight is still only at a 7 versus my 11. Midnight has no other cards she can play. She is lost. She gets discarded into her player's discard pile. Otto goes back to the pool. His ally goes to the discard pile. Otto is now considered tapped. We're all familiar with that term from Magic the Gathering. And cannot defend again. In this case, the attacker has nobody else they can put out. So in this case, the attacker lost, actually, so he cannot attack me again. So the turn ends, and I draw Spoils of Victory. Spoils of Victory is the top card off of my own draw pile, which I can then play in turn. It's the only way in the game that I can actually play another realm into my setup in one turn. In other words, I can only put one realm out per turn, but if I drew this card as my Spoils of Victory, I can immediately play it into my realm. I can also, as Spoils of Victory, play a champion into my pool if I draw it, put an artifact or a magic item on, etc., etc. So that's the basic way to play Spellfire. This continues until one side reaches 6 realms in their formation. And in our game, the way we play is you have to begin your turn with 6 realms. In other words, if I lay my 6th realm, I have to go once around the table, and we usually play with between 5 and 7 of us. I have to go once around the table without them cracking my formation, as we call it. So that's the Barbarians game, as they call it. In the actual original rules, if I end my turn with 6 realms, I win. So if I put my 6th realm down, I can then knock, I'm done, and there's my 6 realms, and I win the game. So that's Spellfire in a nutshell. A very simple way to play. You have many, many different realms that you have in Spellfire. Again, I'm showing Greyhawk because why not? I love Greyhawk. But I'm showing Midnight, Goddess of Magic. Whoops. She is from the Forgotten Realms. The original Spellfire, when it was published, had a bunch of different realms. They were AD&D, Forgotten Realms, Greyhawk, and eventually then they added Dark Suns, Ravenloft, Dragonlance, Birthright. They all became different realms that you could build your decks around. Every deck has to be legal. In other words, the champions all have to be from one world. In this case, Greyhawk. And the realms and the holdings all have to be from one world. We've changed those rules a little bit. We allow AD&D cards to be used as any kind of realm. So if it's a card that doesn't say Greyhawk but says AD&D, they're kind of wild card. They can go into any formation. So that's it. A deck is 55 cards. And that's a very simple way to look at how to play Spellfire. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the house rules that we've done, and then I'll go to that. Continuing on, here's a couple of observations and some rules that we use. One thing, Magic is a little different. Spellfire is a little different in that in this game you're actually attacking your opponent's formation instead of just trying to get him to work through his deck and lose on that way. So in this game, you're actively attacking something the opponent puts out. So there's a lot of strategy in this game as to how you put out your realms, which ones you put in the lead, which ones you put in the back. Also, you have a pool. This is the pool. This is where the player characters lurk. Player characters in the pool, in the real game, are completely dependent on your board. So if I only have one card in my formation, and there are cards in the game that will just destroy a realm completely. There are also some spells that will do it. So my opponent decides, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cast an Earthquake, or an Earthquake's a bad one, Disintegrate. And Disintegrate will destroy your realm. It destroys my realm, discarding it, and my holding, which was attached, also gets discarded. I no longer have any cards in my formation. The rules, as written, say that I now lose everybody in my pool, because my players, the pool, have nowhere to live. All their lands are gone. We actually tossed that rule. We found that that was very restrictive on the play. It made it too important to just kill a final realm. So in our game, if you don't have anything in your formation, you can still have a pool. It also gives you an opportunity to avoid a mulligan. In the game, if you go 2 rounds without drawing a realm that you can play, all of a sudden it's a mulligan, and per the rules, everyone redraws. In our game, you can declare a mulligan, but only you redraw. Everybody else keeps their hands as they are. So by letting the cards sit in the pool without any realms, we also help to avoid the mulligan, because if you like what's in your pool, you won't be as tempted to pull a mulligan just because you didn't draw any realms. And you can play catch-up in this game. There are a couple of cards that let you play multiple cards into the realms. You can draw them as spoils of victory, things like that. So, I'm going to go a little bit further, and this is just going to be some of my observations on the cards themselves, and why I still play this game after 20-some years. There's some very clever things that went into Spellfire, especially by the 4th edition, which came out in about 96, or mid-96, I believe. And among those is, they actually made it so you could fit them into the 9-card holder binder, and look at that. Those 9 cards put in order, Spellfire. These cards are all cleric spells. And they did a lot of this in 4th edition. There you go. Nothing but magic user spells. Sorry, wizard spells. Nothing but cleric spells. So these are all 4th edition cards. And as you can see, they have a lot more verbiage on them because by 4th edition they had been made more powerful. So, Spellfire went out of production in 97. Was still able to be found in hobby stores up through the early 2000s. In fact, I closed out many hobby stores that had them. One place had them 8 packs for $1. I went in, I dropped a bunch of money and snapped up everything I could. I got lucky in 2000 and got a 4,000 card lot for about $60, and that helped me build my collection. So, the game has been around for quite a while. One of the other fun things you can do with current technology is what one of my players does. He builds his own cards. We discuss them beforehand, so we are certain that they're legal. This player is a massive Godzilla fan, so we have Monster Zero. He's also a Svengoolie fan, or just old crummy 1950s monster movies. So we also have Nancy Archer from the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. He made both of these cards, print them, where he and I discussed them before he puts them on the table. And these are both legal in our games. He also is not really a Game of Thrones fan, but he likes the dragons in it. So he went ahead and he made up the 3 dragons, Drogon, Rhaegal, and Viserion. He made up cards for each of them. We discussed what the dragons do. I am a Game of Thrones fan. We discussed what the dragons can do, and he put their powers on and made them all monsters. And then we have another one from the 50s movies, Glenn Manning, The Amazing Colossal Man, one of my favorite schlock movies from the 50s. He has to be defeated twice before he's discarded. And then, of course, Gojira, Godzilla himself. So these are all homemade cards that one of my players did. He's made dozens and dozens of these. He's made some custom ones for me too. So that's it. That's a quick look at Spellfire, just a look at it in a nutshell. I may do a future video that talks a little bit more about some of the house rules that we have and some of the reasons we still play this game. That's it today for page 121. Thank you for watching. Well, that closes the book on another episode of page 121. Please leave your comments below, and if you enjoyed what you saw, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.